The lion banner sways and falls in the horror-haunted gloom. A scarlet dragon rustles by, borne on winds of doom. In heaps the shining horsemen lie, where the thrusting lances break, and deep in the haunted mountains, the lost black gods awake. Dead hands grope in the shadows, the stars turn pale with fright, for this is the dragon's hour, the triumph of fear and night.
Hello everyone, welcome to World of Conan, and today we are talking about the Hour of the Dragon, chapters 13 through 14, and we are joined by Zerosum.
Yep.
And the brothers Hyborian, Dan, and Joe.
These two guys.
Yes, these two guys. Yeah, so welcome every barbarian beyond Vanaheim, from the South Kingdoms, from Kitai, and to the Barakan Islands, but no pigs allowed. And I guess we'll start from chapter 13. That will be the logical case.
Yes. A Ghost Out of the Past on page 667 of the centenary edition of the Complete Chronicles of Conan.
Yes.
Your
Thanks to
book
everyone
may
who's
vary.
watching as well. Yeah.
Conan is
Yeah, I
hot
guess-
on the trail of Beloso at this point.
Yeah, I guess we could.
Palestinian border.
Yeah.
Previously
I guess we
on the Hour of the Dragon.
Yeah, exactly. I guess we gotta give a little bit of update where we are.
It's
right
been a little
now.
while, yeah.
So Conan basically got ambushed by some what would you call them? Like basically some kind of night creatures, zombies, something.
Ghouls. Honestly, full-on ghouls.
Just zombies. Honestly, full-on ghouls.
Oh,
Somebody's not
That's,
muted.
Somebody's not muted.
that's nasty echo there. I muted Dan for just a while. If you can see what he was.
You should also send him to a room.
Pardon me, with just having sound trouble.
Hello.
Don't we always?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's echoing.
It's echoing.
You gotta put some headphones or
Better?
flip the switches so it doesn't echo.
Well, we're now in Argos, and we're en route for Messantia, as revealed on 668, as Conan's giving chase to Beloso, who's the guy who escaped with the
Yeah,
heart of Harriman. And
Yeah.
we're coming to Messantia.
Yeah, and I believe this is probably, I think the last time Messantia and Argos were mentioned was probably Queen of the Black Coast. It's possible that this was the same city that he escaped from at the start of that story.
Oh yeah. I think you're right.
In fact, double check.
There's a great nod to Queen of the Black Coast. And except this time he's not going to end up meeting some pirate queen.
No.
But what's interesting is, now, real quick, this is something I don't think I really noted accurately in my Aragorn and Conan video, are one and the same archetypally. But where Aragorn pretends to be a Black Corsair in Lord of the Rings at one point, Conan was a Black Corsair at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the most literal sense of the term.
Yeah. And so this chapter harkens back to that era when he was Amra the Lion, the Black Corsair, or I guess you could say the King of the Black Coast.
Yeah.
And
It's Messantia also this town also features in the quite a few of the novels as well. The Uh,
good
when-
reason.
yeah, it's a port town, so I guess it's one of the more important towns or cities. I mean,
And
in
thematically, it's
the Barbarian
important to
Age.
link it back to Baelit and her story.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
no, in any case, to that particular period of his history, the more piratical nature of his time.
Mm. And
Um,
in a way, it's Conan returning to that period of his life and having to confront it in order to kind of head forward past it to a new future, I guess.
Yeah. In many ways, that could be said for the entire story. He's returning through his
yeah,
greatest hits of
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
pre-noble existence before he can truly settle down and literally at the end
Yeah.
settle down.
walking all the old haunts, so to
Yeah.
speak. He's
Yeah.
got he knows where all the cutthroats are, and
Yeah.
the-
Basically, this is like a really epic bachelor's party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
This is didn't we talk about like this is basically like on like all of the Conan stories put into
Yep.
one in a basically it's like just as you said greatest hits, but it just like flows through all of his career, like
and what's
everywhere.
interesting, what's also important about this is that Conan thematically has to tie up all the loose ends of his previous life.
Right.
And here, like,
Yeah.
so,
Although not necessarily the most like direct way, like, oh, I have to make amends to this person who I hurt in a previous career. I
It's
mean,
just-
yeah,
as a storyteller, Howard is taking him back there,
Yeah.
and having him run into things from that past life.
yeah,
almost.
but it's nowhere near
Right.
as heavy-handed as it could be under those circumstances.
Yeah. And
It's the-
Conan's not seeking it out, but fate is bringing him back.
Right.
Thank you, Zero, for pointing out that it's not him needing to make amends or anything.
Yeah.
I really
It's
appreciate
the
it.
entire civilized needing to go back to the savage, to the
Yeah.
barbaric.
Yeah, as we see him go through, he gradually goes from he loses the trappings. When he first arrives in Missantia, he's basically dressed as an independent mercenary, no ties to any particular kingdom, no signaling that he's employed by any particular lord, which is why he manages to get in without too much trouble. And from there on, he's basically falling back into his own thing. And it's mentioned that he does actually have to be careful because while the Missantians are kind of tolerant of the Baccaran pirates because they're a lot of their people, so long as they attack other countries, they don't really have a problem with them. But it's mentioned that, for instance, he also sailed with the Zingaran buccaneers, and even with those wild black corsairs that swept up from far south to harry the northern coast, this put him beyond the pale of any law. If you were recognized in any of the ports of Argos, it would cost him his head. King or no king, he's in trouble if he gets recognized.
Yeah. Because he didn't really make distinctions about who he went after.
Yeah.
Yeah, those really hated those black corsairs because, as we find out in the story, they undercut all the prices as well so badly. So I would figure they would have a lot of enemies, all the way from the lowest merchant all the way up to the governor and whoever reigns, because they get kickbacks, so they get less kickbacks. So I would think everyone would be really not fans of the black corsairs. So they probably have.
And the
memes
first
or-
person
go
Conan
ahead.
goes to talk to is his former contact, Publio.
Yeah, one of his fences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Publio is someone who is a well-connected fence in Missantia, and Publio is a very unscrupulous character who, well, we'll soon see as we examine these two chapters just how unscrupulous he is. And he knew Conan by both the name Conan and Amra, but for some reason he also calls him Mitra. I'm joking.
Well, no.
I'm joking.
It's like, God, Conan, Amra. No, you can just call
Yeah.
me Conan.
He will be
You know,
the last
he's
person I
gone.
think he wanted to see.
Yeah, well, it seems like he's kind of gone legit a little bit, but Conan
Yeah,
knows where all
a
the
bit.
skeletons are buried.
Yeah,
He buried a few of them.
and he's quick to go back to his old bad habits, Publio.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes clear that he's afraid of his past, that it could wipe him away immediately, basically.
Yeah,
If everyone
Just a
knew he
small
was the
problem.
one. If everyone knew he was the one who undercut everyone's prices. So,
Yeah.
in that sense that he was taking from the Black Corsairs all the merchandise. But I just wanted to say, I thought this was really well written. This first few pages, of course, everything is, but I just meant the setting of Messantia, the seaport, is really just brings it to life. I think really nicely. You get that feeling of him longing in a way, but in familiarizing with the old haunts once again, and telling of the seaport and why it's important.
Yeah. It mentions the urge of far wandering tugged at his heart. Just the smell of the sea that he hasn't smelled in a very long time.
Yeah. That was so good.
It's interesting that Conan has hears the sea and smells the sea and is filled with the old sea longing. The scene is rather reminiscent of when Legolas first hears the gulls and is filled with sea longing as well. And so it's a great scene. I like that it's the smell of the sea, not the sound of seagulls. I hate seagulls. So
well, seagulls hate seagulls too. You know, they're not exactly fans of their own kind either.
But
it shows that it also showed that Conan was very tempted to say, "Oh, I'm going to go back to that," but he chooses, "Nah, I have more important things to deal with than to go gallivanting along."
Yeah, well, he literally, tells him he definitely deliberately doesn't go to the wharves. He's, like, okay, I'm on mission. I have something to do. I can get nostalgic later on. I got work to do.
Yeah. Now, I'm just going to interject. I've been near the sea recently, and I managed to get on a boat recently. And I remember I have not been on a boat in years. And just being back on one, I ended up filled with the old just passion for the sea and just wanting to stay on. Even though legally I was on a ferry, so I'm not supposed to stay on longer than what I paid for. But it's something that if you do have any kind of love for the sea, it's very easy to just get swallowed up by that love. So Conan avoiding the wharf is a very wise thing to do. He's avoiding the temptation, as you pointed out, Zero.
It is interesting that he hasn't been to the sea, because it says he hasn't been close to the sea for years. I would think, as king, he would. Yeah, as king, he would make trips to different. I don't know.
I forget. Is Aquilonia landlocked?
Well, it has rivers.
Rivers, yes, but ocean? That's the question.
No, ocean. No. Not ocean. No.
No ocean. I think the last time in the actual stories, I think the last time he had anything to do with the pirates was when he was in the Red Brotherhood around, the inland sea of Violet. I think that's the last time. Although I think, actually, I think before that it was in the Black Stranger. I think it was referenced that he had been on the ship at that point, or at least he would be immediately afterwards. So I think that was the last time he was properly at sea for a while.
Oh, and there was this. What was the one story where he was at sea as well? He goes to the island where the statue.
That would be the Pool of the Dark Ones. Devil of the Iron is one of those. That's in the inland sea. There's another one where he goes into the Western Sea, and that's Pool of the Black Ones.
Oh, right, yeah. But I was thinking of Devil in Iron, because that's they go to a island there.
Yeah, and there's that big giant guy made out of iron. Turns out some kind of eldritch creature that's inhabiting the form.
That's which one? That
the Devil in Iron.
Yeah,
I've read that one.
It's one of those with a giant snake.
Yeah, okay, I've read it.
I mean, that doesn't narrow it down. Let's face facts.
That was a good one. I liked it.
I was just thinking, wasn't that later on, that story? I was thinking in chronologically where it fits.
I love all the stories with the Vilya yet see.
No, it must be before the king stuff though.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. The point is, it's been at least 5 years or so in universe since he's probably been out to sea.
Yeah, but
anyway, it's been quite over some time, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's been on the river, but he's not been at sea proper. But because I just know that Aquilonia, most places are accessible by river travel, but it's not sea proper or proper sea. La mer propre. Sorry if I butchered my English there, but that's what I mean. Like la mer propre.
Yeah, it's properly landlocked. I think you have to the various different sides. You have other countries. I think it's bordered by the Pict Lands, which is what keeps it from having much of an ocean up north and to the west. And below that, you have places like Argos and stuff like that who do have the actual port capacity. And then you have Numidia to the east. So, yeah, I think Aquilonia is pretty landlocked.
There's a simple solution. He just needs to wipe out all the Picts, and he could then get access to the ocean. I'm joking. Easier said than done.
We'll start. Anyway, we start with the coming to Publio, or the mansion of Publio, or whatever. Maybe it's not a mansion. Maybe it's just a house. But it's I think it's cool that the page is like, he takes his hat off and he bows when he hears Conan speak. He's like, okay, he notices his command. in the voice. I thought that was a cool detail. Just added there, keeping it.
I like the one line how you have Publio says, "I have put off the past like a worn-out cloak." Well, retorted Conan, you can't put me off like an old cloak. It isn't much I want of you, but that much I do want. You can't refuse me. We had too many dealings in the old days. Am I such a fool that I'm not aware that this fine mansion was built on my sweat and blood? How many cargoes from my galleys passed through your shop? And you have Publio.
Yeah.
All merchants of Messantia have dealt with the sea rovers at one time or another, but not with the Black Corsairs.
Yeah, who are enemies of the state. Let's face facts.
Yeah. And you have Publio, for Mitra's sake, be silent.
Yeah, he doesn't want that particular information out there.
Nope. I just love that he's terrified there. It's admittedly pretty amusing.
Yeah, I mean, he's the kind of criminal element who takes care of all the behind the scenes stuff, never gets directly involved with any of the nasty stuff, but does profit from it all. So,
yeah. It's fine. Conan just says, "Well, I only wish to recall it to your mind. Don't be fearful." but it's what Publio says, "I am respectable." Yeah, right.
Meaning you're rich as hell.
yeah, that's a good retort back.
Why? Why did you grow wealth so much quicker than your competitors? Was it because you did a big business in ivory and ostrich feathers, copper, and skins and pearls and hammered gold ornaments and other things from the coast of Kush? And where did you get them so cheaply while other merchants were paying their weight in silver to the Stygians for them?
Yeah.
Conan basically is outing him and saying, "Yeah, it's me and my Black Corsairs."
Well, he's basically, he's just basically demand because he's not in the best place right now. So he's like, you know what I did for you? Like, give me some stuff so I can move on. So he's basically just.
And Publio tries to blackmail him right back. I just like how he says, "I have not forgotten, but what are you doing here? I am the only man in Argos who knew that the king of Aquilonia was once Conan the Buccaneer in the old days. But a word has come south of the overthrow of Aquilonia and the death of the king.
My enemies have killed me 100 times by rumors."
I love that line.
Yeah.
That's the sort of line you'd probably see in Lord of the Rings. Like, just how well worded it is. And in some ways, Howard was such a talented linguist in his own right. Just with how a sentence like that.
Honestly, better than Tolkien.
Really?
I mean, you didn't have the Ivy League education. I mean, you did this all from scratch.
Fair.
That's a fair point.
I tend to put them on the same level.
It is definitely a line I could see in a movie. Conan moving in forward and then delivering it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to maintain that they're on the same level. But yeah, it's impressive that Howard was an autodidact who could basically word things on the same level as Tolkien without any of the education.
Yeah.
Although arguably Howard educated himself.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
All the more impressive.
Yeah.
I also think there's an interesting point here with the "my enemies have killed me 100 times by rumors," because it doesn't like speak to the thing that rumors and your reputation, like in the old world, like in old ancient times, was really important because you couldn't get the information that quickly.
Yeah.
So if your name was disparaged completely, that's basically you're dead. Basically, there's no
Well,
coming back.
there's that. Plus the fact that, given the fact that there's no like immediate information
Yeah,
delivery, except through
yeah,
sorceress means that we saw it probably in an earlier chapter where there's a bit of the sorceress grapevine that happens sometimes for
yeah.
certain day guys. Basically, information is all a game of telephone. You have messengers taking stuff around, and then from there, the information gets various permutations. But in any case, yeah, I mean, he's been in Left for Dead a whole bunch of times too. So he's probably also
Because
referencing that.
because it
I
isn't
mean,
didn't they? Oh yeah, go ahead then.
I mean, he's been a pirate, he's been a mercenary, a general soldier, a king. Of course, he would have made enemies that would spread all kinds of rumors about him.
Mhm.
And then he has a reputation
But
of being a powerful warrior.
But I kind of meant like the importance of news in that sense that, like in the beginning of the book, when Conan seemingly is killed, the news of his death like spreads to the who was it, the Count of Trocero, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so he thinks Conan is dead, and then therefore that makes his troops and his plans, falter. They can't muster a defense like because they don't have Conan to rally around, so they basically retreat
Mm.
away. So I mean, in that sense, there's quite a lot of weight to the rumors or the news, how it spread
Yeah.
Yeah.
back in ancient time.
Mm.
That's just
Well put.
interesting. I just meant that Howard probably, yeah, he meant he knew that, obviously he knew that, so
Mm. Yeah.
it has many elements to it, to the line, I
And
think.
the thing about Howard is that, like Tolkien, he's from an era when people were more familiar with such knowledge about the medieval and ancient period, and about
Yeah,
how slow news could travel at one point, and he's more familiar with the classics and whatnot. So
Yeah.
than most people here today.
Yeah. Back in the day, the fastest speed of news was the same speed of travel. Like if you didn't have a horse, you were walking, and if you didn't walk, you weren't getting news anyplace else.
No.
you got a cool picture
Nice.
of
Cool.
Giving him
Conan
the
Bobby.
old
You can see
talking
the
to.
wharf,
Yeah.
basically behind there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see him
Love
in his very gaudily dressed.
Just see
Yep.
there.
Oh, I love
Boy.
that wharf.
That is a man who has profited mightily from the criminal affairs of others.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And I love the
The-
parrot. Obviously,
really
the parrot's
cool.
also profited.
Yeah. Anyway, so Conan then tells Publio what he's after. Obviously, Beloso and the jewel, and he tells him to search him out in the Santia, basically,
Mhm.
and get him some supplies as well.
And humorously, Conan departs to go hunt down Beloso, and immediately Publio decides to send several of his own goons out and tells them to basically he doesn't want to deal with Conan anymore. And he says, and he's just like, you know what? I want him dead. Enough of this. I don't want him dragging me back down. And it is honestly funny how now that this is jumping ahead to chapter 14, and it's just funny how you have goons that have been sent by the current sitting pretender to the throne of Aquilonia, and now you have Publio going, okay, I'm going to send my own mystery guys after him. it's just funny how everybody's hiring assassins to try to take out Conan.
It's also kind of hilarious. Yeah, I was just going to say it's kind of hilarious that Publio has heard that Conan has survived, and he knows his reputation, and he's
And then
like,
immediately tries to get rid of him.
yeah, I'm just gonna send some assassin. Yeah, that's gonna work. Like, it's so like, doesn't anyone stop to think like, maybe I should just stay on the good side of Conan? Like, it's better overall. Like, better to have Conan on the friend side than just try
I mean,
to backstab.
it isn't the first time people kind of fastened after Conan.
Yeah,
That's true.
everybody
That's
just
why-
kind of forgets the fact that he is not the kind of guy you betray.
He's a survivor. Like, he's the
Yeah.
quintessential survivor. He survives everything. He survives in the north, in the south, in the east, on the ocean, shipwrecks.
He's all about a
pirates, monsters,
mythological.
wizards.
He's all about a mythological version of Miyamoto Musashi. You're not going to be able to fight with that guy.
Yeah, I just think you would like.
You can try, but
Someone
it's got
without
to
a
end,
brain.
end bloody.
Yeah.
Someone would
But-
think.
But first off, chapter 13 ends with Publio agreeing to send out a search for Beloso in Messalina, and Conan, Conan ends up deciding to nap for a bit. And in chapter 14, he wakes up and there's some news.
Yeah. But
With-
first, there's a bit here where Conan still stood at the casement staring down at the harbor and notices a Stygian galley is already parked there in the harbor.
Yeah, that
thank
comes
you
into
for
play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it mentions, Publio mentions while they're eating there, Stygian ports are temporarily open to our ships and ours to theirs, but may no craft of mine meet their cursed galleys out of sight of land. That galley crept into the bay last night. What its masters wish I do not know. So far they have neither bought or sold. I distrust those dark-skinned devils' treachery had its birth in that dusky land.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, Conan immediately, carelessly, it says here, mentions that I've made them howl. Yeah, back when he was in his Black Horse Airedales, he attacked Stygian galleys all the time.
What I like is the treachery had its birth in that dusky land. That's a really well-worded line as well. Once again, Howard's mastery of the English language is just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a reference here to that moment that's mentioned also in Queen of the Black Coast, where he burned the Stygian fleet in the city of Kemi.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. He asked, like, is there peace then between Stygia and Argos? Stygia doesn't seem to be very well liked overall anywhere.
It's
No.
very much a hermit kingdom of theocratic
Yeah.
dictator black sorcerers. You're not
because
going to get
they're not-
along with those people very well.
Yeah, they're.
But they sound so friendly.
Yeah. I mean, they got
Are
big
you-
snakes just walking around in the night and killing anyone who walks.
I forget what it's called, but in Dragon Age 1 and 2, the old Imperium or whatever, or Magical Imperium, where the Magisters are from, is obviously based off of Stygia. So this is the sort of country that many fantasy universes would draw inspiration from.
Mm.
So, yeah, and I just love how Conan says, and speaking of treachery, mine host, suppose you taste these viands and sip a bit of this wine, just to show me that your heart is on the right side. He doesn't trust Publio.
Well, no.
Who would?
Yeah.
And that was something that I forgot to mention when I was jumping over to 14. I just really like chapter 14.
And then we get
Wow.
the end of this chapter, though. We get the mention of the four black hooded,
Yeah, the
tall, gaunt, clad in
four
black.
Kitai assassins.
The ninja.
Yeah, who are also coming into Messantia. So a lot of things are coming to a head. Basically, there's the Stygia and these guys, and then we got Publio, and we got Conan. There's quite a few characters. coming together here. Same time. I guess there's not much else to this chapter.
Yeah, that's pretty much the end of it. We come to the Black Hand of Set, chapter 14.
What did you guys think about chapter 13, though? Overall,
Loved it. As
Yeah,
always.
it's a good like setting up. Okay, this is the current location. Here are the players. Here's what's currently happening. Here's what's happening next. It flows very well and it's very well constructed.
I
Yeah.
really like the dialogue in particular, because as I've mentioned, like my enemies have killed me 100 times by rumor, and the treachery at its birth in that dusky land. I've made them howl. Like every line seems really well crafted.
Yeah.
And some of them even remind me of lines used in Lord of the Rings and in the Silmarillion.
I am respectable, meaning you're rich as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was a good retort.
Yeah. It's very much, it's a little bit of it's the calm before the storm that's coming up a little bit later. We've just had in the previous chapter, we had the fight against the ghouls. We had, all the drama with that chest and stuff like that. You had all that stuff that built up to a big old smackdown, drag out fight with those monsters. Now we're back into it, like, okay, calm, things are building up, but you can see the intrigue gradually mounting with all these, new players, pulling strings in the background, trying to get one up on Conan. Well, he's just trying to figure out what's going on and figure out where he can find his goddamn rock.
Yeah.
What I can appreciate about this chapter is that we see how much of an impact each line Howard has, and the intensity and the emotion behind each line. We see that Conan isn't just a character on the page.
Yeah.
He is far larger than what other characters that we read on other stories like Harry Potter, Percy Jackson. They don't get this deep, this impactful.
He has a life outside the page, in a sense, in that his story is one that's being spoken by other characters. The characters he encounters know of him before he ever meets them.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Especially at this point in his career. I mean, he has already reached like what you would think of the epitome of the general society. He's the king of his own country. At this point in his career, after all the things he's done, word's gotten around that he's pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also like the chapter for these things.
You'd think that Conan, once he became king, that's the end of the story. But no, it's not the end. He starts where you think. Yeah, it's the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I really like this chapter. Like I said before, the setting of Mesantia, feeling like coming back to the old haunts, the water, reminiscing of all that. But also, like, I got the feel as we read on to the next chapter as well. But also here already that that there's daggers are waiting in the dark. Basically, it's intrigue immediately. Going to the the merchant who is completely corrupt, who is putting on a show basically, and but just that there's this kind of undercurrent all the time in the chapter that it culminates in the next chapter, that there's a lot of things afoot, and like I said, knives in the dark.
Yeah, you may say that treachery was born. Yeah, you may say that treachery was born in that dusky land, but there's plenty of treachery in Mesantia that's homegrown.
They surely imported it.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes to show, like, you have, Aquilonia currently in the throes of, being usurped. You have Mesantia with its own kind of like criminal it's semi-official criminal underground. Yeah. With all the not legal merchandising happening there between them and the local pirates. And then we will get, deal with some slavers on the way to Stygia, and then you get to Stygia proper. And that place is a whole other level. It's where instead of the society creating a nice face over the underlying evils and corruption, here it's front and center on display and is considered the good. Like, yeah, human sacrifice. We'll feed people to snakes. It's awesome. This is what we're supposed to do. This is how you become a good person.
Yeah.
And that is a bit of when we get to that point, but that's a bit of a prequel of things to come for what Zaltoten has in store if he manages to get away with everything he's doing. So we're getting this also not just are we getting a greatest hits of Conan's stories as we go through Tower of the Dragon. We're also seeing different levels of civilization as we get to there, going from Aquilonia, the pinnacle of lawful good kind of a society, to lawful evil in the case of Stygia right there.
I really like the ending of this chapter with the line when Conan is eating, basically, and he says and while he ate, men moved through the markets and along the waterfront, searching for a Zingaran who had a jewel to sell, or who sought for a ship to carry him to foreign ports. And a tall, gaunt man with a scar on his temple sat with his elbows on a wine-stained table in a squalid cellar, with a brass lantern hanging from a smoke-blackened beam overhead, and held converse with 10 desperate rogues whose sinister countenances and ragged garments proclaimed their profession. That's a I gotta just say, that's such a well-written sentence. That's just so well, with all different moods and details and just like, and while he ate, men moved through the markets. That's such a, I don't know, that was really well written here.
And as the first stars blinked out, they shone on a strange band spurring their mounts along the white road that led to Messantia from the west. They were 4 men, tall, gaunt, clad in black hooded robes, and they did not speak. They forced their steeds mercilessly onwards, and those steeds were gaunt as themselves, and sweat-stained and weary as if from long travel and far wandering.
Kind of reminds me of the Nazgul.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a bit of a similarity there.
If you were to take this, if I was to read this paragraph to someone who never read this book and said this was from Lord of the Rings, I bet you anything most would actually say, okay, yeah, so Tolkien wrote that. They would totally buy it, not realizing actually it's Howard who wrote this sort of sentence about Black Riders long before Tolkien had even considered Black Riders.
There you go.
In any book. So,
and also these Black Riders, as we find out in the next chapter, they really have supernatural qualities to them. That they
are not to be trifled with.
They melt basically to the to the walls and stuff. There's definitely something otherworldly about them.
It's very fascinating how many similarities there are between Lord of the Rings and Hour of the Dragon, and yet Tolkien never read this book.
Well, maybe he did. He just didn't.
Well, as far as we know, he never did. But I'd argue this is a case of the Jungian theory of the universal unconscious pulling through.
Maybe
so that the same
maybe
idea
he read later on.
Same
maybe
image.
he read later on.
Maybe he did.
Who knows?
But,
I mean, I don't know if they interviewed him before he died. Like, did you read Hour of the Dragon?
They never did.
Yeah.
The only story of Howard's that we have confirmation that Tolkien read was, I think, the Black Colossus.
Yeah, Black Colossus.
Well, if you're gonna only read one, that's a pretty damn good one.
Oh yeah, he liked it. He liked it.
Although I think Christopher mentioned if his father had read any others, they'd have to check the archives because Tolkien would surely have written about that somewhere.
Yeah,
he wrote everything out.
Now we get to the Black Hand of Set.
Yeah.
A fantastic chapter.
Yes, in the House of Servio.
It's a cool names all around everywhere.
Beloso has fled to the House of Servio, as Zero points out, and it's mentioned by Conan that I know that dive of old. I better hasten before some of these waterfront thieves cut his throat for the
Yeah.
duel.
Yeah,
Because
it's
if
not
anyone's
exactly
gonna
the
cut his
safest
throat-
place to lay your head at night.
If anyone's going to cut his throat, it's going to be Conan.
Hmm.
And he tells Publio, "Have my steed stabled and ready
Saddled.
in the court, or saddled and ready in the court. Sorry, I may return in haste. I shall not forget this night's work, Publio." Basically saying, "All right, I'll thank you properly later."
Yeah.
And
And then Publio's like, bye.
yeah,
Yeah, I wish I told my knaves to let him secure it before they did their work, but then something might have gone awry. Let Argos forget Amra and let my dealings with him be lost in the dust of the past. In the alley behind the house of Servio, that is where Conan will cease to be a peril to me.
Yeah.
You
So arrogant.
idiot.
Yeah.
You utter Mesentian moron. What a buffoon.
what a maroon.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well-
he should know his reputation by now.
Self-deletion by Conan.
Death by
Well,
Sumerian.
What's
Yeah,
interesting about this
basically.
line that you read so well, Zero, is that the way it's done, where he's kind of seemingly talking to himself. This is an old literary device that Shakespeare often
Yeah,
utilized.
soliloquy.
Yeah, and what I love about Howard is that no other modern writer ever does this, and yet Howard frequently does it.
Well,
Great
it was,
effect.
it was the style at the time. If you read a lot of 1920s, 1930s pulp fiction, also
Yeah,
like
fair enough.
oftentimes like things like they would end like a paragraph like that on like this kind of thing, where even if it's just the narrator describing it, it's that style of writing. In this place, soon, it would cease to be, or something like that, or the villain will declaim, like in this place at this time. It's a bit of exposition, but it's done with flair. You know what I mean?
And
Yeah.
well, I
You see
know
that a lot, and I've got those shadow novels. I've got back there by Maxwell
yeah.
Grant. There's a lot of that kind of stuff happening at the end of each chapter. Is like when it's one of the villains going off for something, or even of course the shadow himself when he's like, "Ha, in this place, my plan will come to pass, and the evil will be vanquished." The shadow knows all the good stuff.
Where do you
Yeah.
think
the
Batman took a lot of that from?
Dude, the very
lot of
first Batman story was ripped off wholesale from Partners in Peril. One of the not just the text and the story, but actual artwork from the actual story.
from the
Was
shadow.
copied wholesale for the first Batman comic. Do not start me on that crap.
But
Batman is plagiarized lock, stock, and barrel.
that said, all I'm pointing out is the Shakespeare influence with Howard was also strong because
Oh yeah.
he was an avid Shakespeare reader.
Mhm.
He loved Shakespeare.
Oh yeah, you can tell a lot of that in the occult stories. It's very much has that feel like King Lear kind of feel to it.
And you have Phoenix on the Sword, which is taken wholesale from Julius Caesar.
Mhm.
One of Shakespeare's best plays.
Yeah, originally a cult story.
And
Well,
one of the best cult stories. And you've got
if you're going
by this axe I rule.
Yeah.
I love
yeah.
that.
if you're going to rip off
It's
a
intended.
Shakespearean play,
Well, that's the thing. It's
after-
not a ripoff at all because it doesn't really have much beyond like the idea of the king is about to be attempted usurpation of the rightful ruler or something like that. That's happened to a bunch of other people other than Caesar. It's just there's definitely inspiration in terms of like
With-
I think most of English has a lot of inspiration from Shakespeare. That's based facts.
And the thing with Publio's line is it reminds me of what was it? Richard III. When Richard III is often scheming for an evil act against, say, Edward IV or whomever has the misfortune of attracting his wrath, Howard is having Publio tell us what his plans are in a Richard III type of way.
Mhm.
I just love that.
Yeah.
And I think it's a disgrace that modern writers don't really do that. And
the flair is gone.
yeah. But I think that one good point that you make, Zero, is that this was common in pulp fiction in America.
Mm.
But when reading a novel from, let's say, England or France at the time, this sort of thing had been done away with for some time. And I think the only one who kind of brought it back was, I think, Tolkien in Lord of the Rings, because there are a few scenes where he has characters kind of doing the soliloquy like this.
Kind of, but not in the same way.
entirely. Yeah. Well, I was thinking of Denethor in a
Yeah.
few scenes. But
Yeah. Well, he does that thing, but it's more in his case, closer to the Hamlet doing his kind of soliloquies, stuff like that.
yeah.
Here, it's very much like this is here. It's done purely for expositionary purposes. This is okay.
Yeah.
I have done this. I have not sent my people to attack Conan. It's answering the question: why don't the thieves, Publio's men, wait till he's gotten the gem before they attack in order to get both? It's because he didn't tell them to do that. He told them to get them immediately. Where are they going to do it? They're going to do it, confirming it at the House of Servio. That is where the event will take place. So he's already seeding all the information in there. This is not just done for stylistic, but it's also for proper story construction in terms of the fabric of what comes like. Howard's got a formula at this point, and he knows how to use it properly. And that was something that was true of a lot of 1930s American pulp fiction. There was a formula in place, whether it's Lester Dent, Maxwell Grant, or Robert E. Howard, H.P. Lovecraft, or Clark Ashton Smith, or anybody else, and Andrew Merritt, all these different authors. They had a formula that they were working with. That is what was popular and what got them their commercial writing. Because all these pulp magazines, literary magazines, they were paying by the story. If you didn't get your stuff in there, you didn't get paid. So these people were, commercial writers. They weren't, Tolkien for
competition.
Yeah, there's a lot of competition for space, and let's face it, Tolkien already had a day job. He didn't have to worry about getting, all this stuff published and making ends meet through his writing. So that's one of the reasons why so much of 1930s fiction is so, in that case, kind of formulaic. It's because they had a formula that worked for them and got them money on the table to put food on the table during the Depression. So there's a bit of that goes into also to seeing why stories are written a certain way and why they're written primarily to entertain people, to really get them to want to turn the page, because that
Impact.
way magazine high impact. So the magazines will pick them up, so therefore they get a paycheck.
They need their cliffhangers.
Exactly.
It's basically the first line, like we read, which is the beginning of this video, the beginning into the Hour of the Dragon, that like immediately sucks you into the like the atmosphere.
It's the same thing with movie serials at the time. They want you to come back for the next one, so they gotta leave you, wanting something more. And the same thing here. That line leaves you immediately wanting to see what's going to happen next, and then boom, start up the next page.
And the cliffhangers. And the cliffhangers, obviously, as well.
Yeah, like the riders arriving at the end of the previous chapter. You don't immediately go into, okay, what are these guys doing next? You let that dwell as this hovering threat over everything else.
Although, that said, Howard had originally planned to publish Hour of the Dragon as just one big completed manuscript.
Yeah.
So, but
it was in part still.
Yeah.
I think.
Even when one considers that, it's common for writers to you end a chapter, you end it on a cliff note so that you get your readers to read the next chapter.
Exactly. Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no point in reading the next chapter because there's no cliffhanger.
Yeah, and you don't want a chapter where nothing happens, or like you don't want boring chapters. Let's face facts. So having each chapter, even the non-action ones, having their own kind of rising tension, and then builds up to a climax, and then move on to the next one. That definitely helps keep the pacing going.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting point here with the Shemiti's merchant who didn't want to buy the jewel. He was like got pale when he saw it. So basically, he knew what it was, and he was like, "Oh, that's cursed! I gotta run immediately."
Or at least he took a look at the rock that was glowing with an inner fire, and was like, "Yeah, I ain't touching that."
Yeah, it's like that's someone who knows danger.
That ain't kosher.
One who's acquainted with dangerous situations, and he's like, "Yep, I'm out."
Yeah.
So nice detail there. Then we get to Servius' house. I think it's really cool written. Servius' house,
famed den.
Yeah, it was located close to the wharves, facing the waterfront. It was a shambling building of stone and heavy ship beams, and a long, narrow alley wandered up alongside it. Conan made his way along the alley, and as he approached the house, he had an uneasy feeling that he was being spied upon. He stared hard into the shadows of the squalid buildings, but saw nothing, though once he caught that faint rasp of cloth or leather against flesh. But that was nothing unusual. Thieves and beggars prowled these alleys all night, and they were not likely to attack him after one look at his size and harness. So we're now entering basically the knives in the dark situation.
Yeah.
Well, literally a bit later on here. There's interesting here. Immediately but suddenly a door opened in the wall ahead of him, and he slipped into the shadow of an arc. A figure emerged from the open door and moved along the alley, not furtively, but with a natural noiselessness, like that of a jungle beast. Enough starlight filtered into the alley to silhouette the man's profile dimly as he passed the doorway where Conan lurked. The stranger was a Stygian. Now this will, come back pretty fast in this chapter who that was, and gives the scent basically where Conan should go afterwards. But at this point he doesn't put two and two together, obviously, because he doesn't have all the information, which he will.
And he doesn't put particular attention to the fact that he thought he must be carrying a lantern among his garments, for he caught a flash of lambent light just as the man vanished. We're going to know very soon exactly what that light was coming from.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's like, crap, I had it. It's gone. Damn it.
Yeah.
He let it slip right through his fingers.
Yeah. I mean, considering what this bald Stygian priest guy did to a door just, a few moments ago. Yeah, well, it's probably, he might not have been able to stop him from getting away with it just like that, or at least not so easily.
I mean, Conan doesn't really. Oh, a wizard. Let's go meet him. Like this.
He tries to avoid that as much as he could.
Yeah, he's. I mean, obviously he will fight any wizard, but he's not like, yeah, let's go check up on some wizards just for the fun of it. He doesn't really care for all that magic stuff. So it's no wonder he avoids it, because he has a mission to find Belloso. Let's see, where were we? Let's see.
We were at Sumerian forgot the stranger as he knows the door through which he had to emerge still stood open. So he goes through there, finds the lock, and is surprised by the fact that it's been blasted open quietly. Described here as apparently by some terrific. The lock had been forced apparently by some terrific pressure from the outside that had twisted and bent the heavy iron bolts, tearing the very sockets loose from the jambs. How such damage could have been wrought so violently without awakening everyone in the neighborhood, Conan could not imagine. But
clue number 2.
Something odd's happened. And the thing is, this is not the first time we've seen this kind of thing happen.
Or actually, clue number 3 here. We got the Stygian warship. Then we got this man who comes out and has the lambent light, and now we have this.
Yeah.
So that's basically 3 clues here.
But here's the thing. This is not the first time we've seen this kind of effect. In People of the Black Circle, Kemsha does that to basically applies his hand to a door, and it silently implodes. Like it was hit. It was like it was hit with a battering ram, knocking it down, but it didn't make a sound. This is like a direct reference to that particular effect. I think this is one of the few times a spell is actually used the same kind of spell is used multiple times in the Conan stories, because usually there's not that much of a repeat in terms of these things.
Was Kemsa the sorcerer?
Yeah, he was like the renegade sorcerer who was trying to oppose the people, his old masters, the masters of Yimsha and such.
Right. It's been a while since I read that story, so that's a good catch, though. That's a good catch.
I read that and immediately thought, wait, I've seen this kind of thing before.
Yeah, because the spells don't really, like you said, repeat in that sense. You see the same spells over and over again.
And we have on the chest of Belloso, I believe it is, the mark of a black hand, thumb and 4 fingers plainly distinct on his chest. Real quick, this sort of spell would be used by Raceland in Dragonlance at one point. So this is something that, well, I just find it funny because a lot of Dragonlance writers like to raise their noses at Howard, and yet they stole one of his spells. So it's just okay.
I think it's a good line here. Before here, it says when he enters the chamber, he's groping in total darkness. He halted suddenly. He sensed death in that room, as a wild beast senses it, not as peril threatening him, but a dead thing, something freshly slain. In the darkness, his foot hit and recoiled from something heavy and yielding. With a sudden premonition, he groped along the wall until he found that the shelf that supported the brass lamp with its flint and steel and tinder beside it. And I think it's once again that Conan really knows his surroundings, even if it's total darkness. So
he has an
really
instinct
honed.
of a wild beast honed through decades with experience.
Because I don't know about you guys, but that really speaks to life. Because when you're someplace, or if you've been someplace, you can feel like things in the atmosphere and stuff like that. Some like weird vibes, like something's like not really right here, or something. Or some people can be dangerous, and there's this kind of feeling around. So it is. It's true to life, definitely. What's written there, so that's cool. Knowing. So we find below. So he's dead. He obviously. Obviously, I just say because his sword has not been drawn, so he has not fought back. So it seems he was caught by surprise immediately.
And Conan ends up kind of deducing everything. The heart by Crom, he muttered. He was carrying it under his mantle. He stole it. He burst that door by his magic and slew Beloso. He was a priest of Set.
Yeah. Like he recognizes, okay, I know what can do this. Stygian just walked out with something glowy. Oh, crap.
I missed a chance to stick my sword in his throat.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, Conan is basically one more dead Set priest. Good enough for me.
Yeah, but first he's got to deal with some other surprise arrivals.
Obviously he checks the body. The jewel's not there. Uneasy feeling rose in Conan that this had not happened by chance or without design. A conviction that the mysterious Stygian galley had come into the harbor of Messantia on a definite mission. How could the priest of Set know that the heart had come southward? Yeah, that's an interesting question. But wasn't there a line about the heart? It kind of like sends out, like it can be sensed.
Well, its movements, kind of disturb the fabric of this sorceress world. I guess powerful enough artifact. Like it's mentioned. Where was it?
It's a matter like the One Ring, which also exists on another plane of existence, and those attuned to it are able to sense its travel. And the heart of Ahriman kind of works like that. The idea would be. Now, the idea in Platonic/Christian metaphysics is that we have a physical material world, and then we have another real world, which is actually a spiritual world, or basically another plane of existence. And the idea here would be that the heart of Ahriman also exists on this other plane of existence. And those attuned to that plane are able to detect it and kind of see it, so to speak, or its trail wherever they are, and if they're nearby enough. But I wouldn't say that. I don't know if this black priest of Set had originally come to Messantia with the goal of finding it. Very likely he happened upon the knowledge of it.
Well, we know later on that so the Stygians do know of it, at least the person who eventually retrieves it. So I think it's quite possible that he knew that
they were looking for it. Maybe
somebody in Stygia knew this thing was out and about, and sensed an opportunity to take it.
Okay, because I didn't know that.
Because there were some lines about do not throw it into the sea, because it will just find itself back once again. Like it's you can't dispose of it in that way. It will be found.
It's one of those things that likes being used.
So
Let's see if I can find.
Hey,
hello,
Garrett.
Christensen.
Hey, Garrett.
Nice to see you. man.
Hey,
Nice to see you.
Glad to see you here, my friend.
I'm wondering if I can find the specific bit that described its movements. Can't quite
There
find
was some.
it.
Yeah, there was some parts about it, but it was quite a few lines, so it can be hard to find it like that. Again, then we find that Conan once again gets well. Basically, there's some other people who want to deal with him as well.
Ain't there always? Isn't it so wonderful being that popular?
Yeah, I know, right? He seems more popular with men than he does with women, it seems. For some
I mean,
odd-
women want him and men want to be him or kill him.
Yeah.
One or the other.
I think kill him would be the.
or
Maybe
or
it's because
want
their
to be
women
with
always
him.
want him. It's definitely because
footfall.
the men know that their women want Conan, so they have to try to kill him. Otherwise, well, they won't. Those women won't be their woman anymore soon enough.
Well, they could try, but they'll fail.
Yeah.
Mm.
And we get a explosive action scene over the course of a page. And I say explosive because I don't know any other word for it.
I think there's an interesting point here when it starts. He could not guess their identity, but as always, he took the initiative, leaping suddenly forth from the doorway without awaiting the attack. He's just, who's this? I don't care. I'm just killing. I'm just jumping. I mean, what if it was like four children and he just murdered?
I think he'd
Murdered
sense it.
some kids. Yeah.
Weirdly, I
Yeah.
think he'd, on some level, sense that it's not some attacker.
Mm.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
what I mean is-
Skulking.
Like he senses that they mean harm to him.
Yeah. We come back to the when it said he sensed death in that room. So right now he senses that there's something afoot that is not good.
Yeah.
Because it says a stealthy footfall outside the door brought him around like a great cat. Basically, someone who's trying to move stinkily and is up to no good. So that's what he senses.
Yeah.
His ears told him that men were out there in the darkness, were closing in on the doorway. As his eyes became accustomed to the sudden darkness, he could not make out the dim figures ringing the entrance. So, like you said, we then get the fight scene.
The great fight scene.
Yeah.
And you have it's it's a fascinating thing actually in this book that most people know Conan for the great action scenes that Howard writes, and yet in all this book is not really arguably an action scene book, but so much as an adventure novel. You know.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm not saying it's not action as well. It's just that there's very little page space set up for it's more plot than fight scenes.
Yeah, dialogue and setting the stage, culmination of things.
Which goes to show that you can write a great story with Conan. It's a very easy thing to do.
Yeah.
But of course we get this awesome action scene where like blades wickered dimly about him in the darkness, or rasped on his mail. Blood and entrails spilt over his hand, and someone screamed as he ripped murderously upward. A muttered voice spurred on the attack. That voice sounded vaguely familiar. Conan plowed through the clean hacking shapes toward the voice. A faint light gleaming momentarily through the drifting clouds showed him a tall, gaunt man with a great livid scar on his temple. Conan's sword sheared through his skull as through a ripe melon.
Yeah, and there then goes the agent that Publio hired to take to assemble this band of rogues. And Publio giving him his mission, and now dead.
Yeah.
Then an axe swung blindly in the dark, crashed on the king's bassinet, filling his eyes with sparks of fire. He lurched and lunged, felt his sword sink deeply, and heard a shriek of agony. Then he stumbled over a corpse, and a bludgeon knocked the dented helmet from his head. The next instant, the club fell full on his unprotected skull. Ow.
Yeah.
That's me saying ow. The king of Aquilonia crumpled into the wet sands. Over him, wolfish figures panted in the gloom. And we get actually one of these men who is very reasonable and level-headed. Strike off his head, muttered one.
Yeah,
But
that's
he's
huge
forwarded by,
mistake.
by stupid. I don't know what else I'm going to call him, but I'm going to call him stupid. Let him lie, grunted another. Stupid, I mean.
Yeah,
Help me tie up my wounds before I bleed to death. The tide will wash him into the bay. See, he fell at the water's edge. His skull split. No man could live after such blows.
I mean, to be fair, I think these guys don't know much about news besides the port town, basically.
Yeah. I don't think that they know
This is-
that this guy is Conan specifically.
Yeah, and this is also, remember, this is years and years after Conan was with the Black Corsairs. There's no correlation.
Yeah,
Conan
more so,
the-
I don't think these guys know who they're dealing with. Publio told his agent
No.
to go gather some new rogues to do this, but he
Yeah,
wasn't
exactly.
obliged to tell them anything. So really, they're just worried, like, kill this guy. Nope, don't bother with that. He's gonna get tossed to the tide anyway. I'm bleeding to death. Help me.
Of course,
more
he wouldn't.
urgent matters.
They should have
of course
still
he wouldn't tell.
lopped off his head. He just killed more than
of
half a
course.
number.
Yeah, well, no one
But-
ever said that the criminal element was made of smart people.
Okay,
But it
fine.
makes sense. Publi wouldn't tell though, because he didn't want people to know that Conan knows him.
Yep.
That there's this connection between them, and that they would figure out why there's a disconnection. So he just says, "Yeah, kill this guy."
Yeah.
But and that they wouldn't know who Conan is, even in that sense, except the king.
I also like the fact that you have help me strip him, urged another. And real quick. And I think it was World of Conan. Just to correct you, it looks like men do want him. You want to strip him. I'm joking. I can resist that joke.
Because when you say it,
a few pieces of silver in haste. Tiberio is dead, and I hear seamen singing as they reel along the strand. Let us be gone.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I had to comment. They do want him. Sort
Yeah.
of.
Well,
Few
they want to
pieces
make
of
some money
silver.
off of his gear.
and what
That
you
tells,
do is that
Something.
the first line, you say it like that Brannigan.
Help me strip him.
Oh, that's
That
a nice
sounds wrong.
harness. That we'll fetch some silver. Yeah, they probably didn't get paid much, because if they got to rob the guy for just a few silver for the harness.
I mean, you always need a bonus.
Monster.
Let's face facts.
Yeah.
But there is another positive to them. They're not going to have to share the paycheck of the guys who died.
Oh,
Oh,
there you
yeah,
go.
that's true.
They might have more for them.
Publio will save a bit of money.
Well, unless they tell them the others didn't, the others are with the body. At which point they could just say, well, there's still like, I don't know, 7 of us, when in reality there might be only 3. So they just cash the extra money into their own pockets.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
There's also that he, before the battle there, it seems like he chased the Stygian to the waters, and he saw him a long, low black shape that receded in the darkness, that gathering momentum as it went. And to his ears came the rhythmical clack of long oars. He ground his teeth in helpless fury. It was the Stygian galley, and she was racing out to sea, bearing with her the jewel that meant to him the throne of Aquilonia. So, and then after that comes the fight scene. So, at least he knows where the jewel is going now.
Yeah.
Where it is. So, I guess that's
Meanwhile,
a good point.
Publio is pacing back and forth in his chamber, sweating buckets and nervous about
I can
What
just
Conan
picture a
do?
really fat man, just like, basically.
Mhm.
Finally getting a workout.
Yeah. Well, getting a nice nervous sweat going.
Yeah, but
see how-
he's probably doing more exercise now than he ever has before, which means
See-
Conan's doing him a favor.
Just seeing, I just picture a bald man with sweat coming down his bald head, and he's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's a cool here that, to the best of his knowledge, the door had been bolted from within, but now it stood open, and 4 men filed into the chamber. I mean, Publio gets no, how would you say? He gets no rest, basically.
Nope.
If it's not Conan, it's 4 other random guys like the
Yeah,
Nazgul.
it definitely needs to work on a
Get this
security
lever.
system.
Yeah.
Well, there's also that proverb that has to come into force here. There's no rest for the wicked,
Yeah, definitely.
or the
And,
treacherous.
Nope.
At the sight of them, his
Oh, wait.
flesh crawled. Yep.
Real quick, I thought Beast Wars once said that treachery keeps the wits sharp, but it seems that they haven't really done that for Publio.
No.
It
His
can
security
keep your wits
sucks.
sharp, but you have to have wits to begin with.
It seems
True.
like he has just one guard basically. He's really he's not smart.
As Zero said, witless.
Mm.
Yeah. At the sight of them, his flesh crawled. Many strange beings Publio had seen in his lifetime, but none before like these. They were tall and gaunt, black-robed, and their faces were dim yellow ovals in the shadows of their coifs. He could not tell much about their future, and was unreasoningly glad that he could not. Each bore a long, curiously mottled staff. "Who are you?" he demanded. "What do you wish here?" So basically, where is Conan? He who is king of Aquilonia. They basically, as we know, they are after Conan to kill him, and I guess they followed the scent basically. To
I gotta take
Publio.
a quick bathroom break.
Yeah.
I chugged my hot chocolate too quick.
Basically, the scent brought them to Publio. So I mean, I guess lucky Publio, Conan chose him, so he can get melted to the ground. It's funny. It's funny. He sees these guys like, doesn't he? Hasn't he had like experience like in the past, like day and night right now, to not lie? So now he immediately lies to these guys who he's afraid of. I don't know what you mean. I know no such man. And they immediately
has
say,
been
yes,
here.
they've been here. Yeah, it's like, come
This
on.
horse is in the courtyard. Tell us where he is before we do you an injury.
First of all, you're surrounded by 4 really creepy dudes who came through
Yeah.
the door, who just opened the door, which was locked, and you're
Yeah.
just like, oh, I don't know what you mean. It's like,
And plus, they speak in a passionless monotone, like the hollow tone of a Khitan temple bell. So, like, yeah, these guys are not normal, bad guys either.
yeah, I mean, he even says here like, many strange beings Publio had seen in his lifetime, but none before like these. Like, I mean, there's a clue for you there. Like,
Yeah, do not fuck with them.
yeah, it's just tell them like you're gonna die anyway. Like, basically.
Well, not even then. I'm pretty like, if they had actually told, if he had actually cooperated, chances are they might have let him live. They seemed very, target focused, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
But then
Unless
he'd
Conan comes
probably
back.
be targeted by Conan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in
He's
any
already-
case,
no, he's already going to be targeted because
Yeah.
he just put a hit on Conan, anyways.
yeah. But in any case, he calls for his slave there. If you
Good
summon
ball.
your slave, he will die. He does it anyway. Guy bursts in with a sword, and well, it does not go
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, that's a good line. If you summon your slave, he will die. It's like you can think of that like monotone. If you summon your slave, he will die.
That
That's
line
like
reminds me of Solomon, this one Solomon Kane line from Red Shadows. Men shall die.
Yes, men
Yeah,
shall
just
die
like
for
that.
this.
Yeah.
But in his case, it's more like you can sense a little bit of anger here. This guy's not angry. This guy doesn't feel anything
It's a matter
at
of
all.
fact.
It's like,
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
threatening you. I'm simply stating what will happen if you keep doing this stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
At this
so-
point, he should definitely just cooperate. But anyway, we get the guard basically running into the room, and I think it's interesting what happens to him. He basically melts to the floor.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting death there.
Yeah, the guy just swings his sword like, "Argh," but the stroke was never dealt. Before this guy even has a chance of attacking, just
Yeah.
pokes him with this staff, like it's described. What does he say? It was as if,
Black sleeve.
yeah,
Black sleeve arm shot out, extending the long staff.
Yeah.
Its end but touched the Shemite's brawny breast and was instantly withdrawn. The stroke was horrible, like the dart and recovery of a serpent's head.
Yeah.
Gebal halted short in his headlong plunge, as if he had encountered a solid barrier. His bald head toppled forward on his breast. The sword slipped from his fingers, and then he melted slowly to the floor. It was as if all the bones of his frame had suddenly become flabby. Publio turned sick. It's a very
Well, I'm not sure if he
interesting
literally melted or if he's just like, toppled over
Oh,
like
yeah.
flabbery. It's not necessarily clear. Either way, he's dead as hell.
Go lay down.
And then
I
he just
didn't-
says, yeah,
Yeah. No,
yeah,
go
and then he
ahead.
just says, do not shout again. Your servants sleep soundly, but if you awaken them, they will die, and you with them. Where is Conan?
Yeah.
It's like, talking to a Terminator.
It's like talking to HAL 9000 from
Yeah.
Space Odyssey.
No, I mean, HAL 9000 at least tried to be polite. This one's just like, I'm not even going to bother saying please.
Yeah.
He's not.
Well,
This is not the kind of say. He's not the kind of person to say, "I'm sorry, Publio. I can't do that." He's not saying sorry.
This guy technically did ask politely of Gabal, and Gabal fell over dead from that polite request of his. That's
Yeah.
polite for him.
Well, he very politely asked him to die. Yes.
Yeah. And Publio finally ends up saying he has gone to the house of Servio near the waterfront to search for the Zingaran Beloso. And the thing is, we then get Publio's vision of himself as he says, the merchant did not lack courage, but we've actually seen that he kind of does. But these uncanny visitants turned his marrow to water. He started.
But it's fun. I'm just saying it's funny he lies immediately after this again.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. He's like, they ask him, your servant?
And he shakes his head. Mutely.
Yeah. It's like, come on, dude.
His first instinct is just to lie to these guys constantly.
Like, how dumb?
He is an asshole.
Like, I can't believe it. Like,
He's a real
Just-
spaceballs, this one.
yeah.
Right, Zero?
Yeah, but then of course his servants, show up, alerted by the noise and disturbance, and is like,
He's told, talk to this man who comes and send him away quickly. If you betray us, neither he nor you will live to reach that door. Make no sign to show him you are not alone.
yeah,
Yeah, and it says they melted behind the tapestry. So that's interesting as well.
Yeah.
Very fascinating image.
yeah. Well, basically
Because
these guys are warrior monks of some kind.
Because it says it might have been a trick of the light, but it seemed to him that occasionally those staffs moved slightly of their own accord, as if possessed of an unspeakable life of their own.
Yeah,
So
we'll learn later on, I think, during the Stygian chapter, that those staves were taken from a very particular source,
Oh, right, yeah.
Haven't read
which is
that.
why just being poked with them is a very, very, very bad thing.
Yeah. So basically, they come to say that the barbarian lies dead on the sands at the water's edge, that they have done what he wished.
I like that your secretary Tiberio is dead. The barbarians slew him and 4 of my companions. We bore their bodies to the rendezvous. There was nothing of value on the barbarian except a few silver coins. Are there any further orders?
Yeah, and Publius just, no,
Screw
bye. Yeah. And then immediately the Khitans just show up and just like, what is this guy talking about?
Yeah.
He lies again.
Yeah, he lies again. It's unbelievable.
Of a wandering stranger who did me an injury.
And immediately the Khitan knows he's lying.
Because he just heard him say, like, the barbarian. And it's like, the Khitan is just like,
Publio is a fascinating character of what not to do. So it's interesting character with some good dialogue, definitely. Good character.
He's as dumb as the one guy, I forget his name, but from the one inn where the hobbits stay at the beginning of Lord of the Rings. It's like, why are you so dumb? Except that guy was good, but Publio's obviously not. It's just,
yeah. And so they send the three of them go off to search for Conan's body. One of them stays with Publio. They come back, and immediately he's like, his body was gone. There was blood, but the king lives. Yeah. It's like they read the sands, he says.
The king lives, and he has gone southward in a ship. And I like how the tall Khitan lifted his head, and gazed at Publio so that the merchant broke into a profuse sweat. What do you say? He stuttered.
Yeah. And in the end, here's the thing. At the end of this chapter, Publio lives. These guys don't kill him. In spite of everything, they just kill him.
Maybe.
They probably figured he's going to be useful in the future.
Yeah. And again, a great line for the end of the chapter. For how long will voyage, stammered Publio, never thinking of refusing. To the ends of the world, perhaps, answered the Khitan, or to the molten seas of hell that lie beyond the sunrise.
I love that line.
That's a great way to end a chapter. That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
That's once again
read ahead even more.
Yeah, and also just introducing a little bit of information that will serve as the basis of the next chapter. The king lives and has gone southward in a ship. No other explanation required. And then the next chapter, we cut to the king on a ship headed south. But you don't know the exact circumstances of what that ship is, which we will get into very quickly on the next chapter, because, he's not in charge of that ship yet.
But that's exactly what we were talking about before, the how to end a chapter and how to start. Yeah. So here we see, once again, Howard knows how to end a chapter, because he does it all the time. Very well.
Now, what's also interesting about Howard, now that I think about it, and this is going back to the Shakespeare comment I made earlier, it's that Howard's not afraid of having the story shift to the perspective of the villains and whatnot. Most writers don't do this today, and most writers did not do this over in England at the time, or in France for that matter, but Howard shifts over to their point of view, and we get to understand them as characters just as we do, say, Conan or Trocero or something. And he also does one thing differently now that I think about it. Just offer a bit of criticism towards today's authors. They would have stuck in some sort of plot for Zenobia so that we're constantly seeing her when it's unnecessary. Howard, we don't even see Zenobia probably till the end of the book, I imagine.
Yeah.
We're not seeing her. Now, I don't know if we see her later, but I'm assuming we don't, because so far, we've not seen her. And she is an important character as the motivation for Conan's actions to an extent. And yet, Howard doesn't have the impulse to. So this is interesting that we're seeing the villains fleshed out. We're seeing the hero. We're not seeing the prize fleshed out.
Well, that would happen more during the Dark Horse comic adaptation of Hour of the Dragon, where in the end, one of the women that's to be sacrificed by Zalthoten to do some terrible magics at the end is Zenobia. She's offered up. Yeah, so she gets brought back in, a little bit more, and you do have her showing up here and there throughout that version, not in any kind of action capacity, but more just a reminder that she exists. Whereas here, it's not the case at all.
But it's interesting how Howard is but even her in Howard's version is a fairly fleshed out character.
Mhm.
So it's just he gives the characters enough page space that they need, and not a page more or page less.
Yeah,
And-
Howard doesn't do the one chapter from the viewpoint of this, one chapter from the viewpoint of this.
Yeah.
They're
And-
following along the story.
Yeah, although I can't even complain about the fact that these were two relatively short chapters. They
Yeah, that's
were
true.
very good, and they were the perfect length, arguably. Now I don't know how long the next chapter is. I've not really read ahead.
I think
But-
they're not that long either.
Yeah, they're only like in this omnibus edition. They're only like a couple pages a piece.
Yeah, actually, next one is let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 pages, and the 16th chapter is just 1, 2, 3, 4 pages.
Yeah.
It's really short. It's a really
Yeah.
short chapter. The 16th chapter.
So, and I'm kind of leaning towards maybe for the next stream, maybe we have 3 chapters.
Yeah, because those 2 chapters are very short. And,
Yeah.
and the,
And also because things are going to be speeding up quite a bit at this point.
Yeah. So
the
it'd be
17th
better-
chapter isn't that long either. So that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, let me check 18 as well. Let's see how short or long this is. Well, 18, yeah, is pretty good length. I have no idea how many chapters there are to this book.
There are 22 chapters.
22?
Yeah, I have the Kindle up, and there are 22 chapters.
You know,
I have more actually.
I've got a few more.
I got 23.
3.
Let me
Okay.
see. I'm just gonna try looking myself.
Checking it out. 22.
I have 23.
And 22. Ends on the road to Acheron.
That's
Okay.
interesting. I got 23. It's weird.
Okay. So
Odd.
maybe what we
Yeah,
do
that's
for the next stream is, this might sound weird. I don't know about you guys. Maybe we go all the way up to chapter 19. And then we have that would be 20 pages.
I think we can think of stuff to say about that.
And no, I just meant like we go all the way up to that, and then we do the last 3 chapters as one stream. But if you
it could
prefer,
be a
we
pretty
could-
long. Yeah. It could be a pretty long stream then. Let's see. There's a lot of stuff here. though.
Okay. Well, or we just stick with up to chapter 18 and we do a 18, 19, and 20 stream, and then a 21 and 22. That might work better, actually.
Yeah, 21, 22, and then recap.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Because we got to give ourselves some time to do, like, so what did we really think about the whole damn thing? Kind of deal.
Good point.
Yeah.
So,
The best
yeah.
hits.
Yeah.
We go all the way up to 18, and for one thing, it's going to be, I think, Zero who's going to host this next stream. Because so far it's only been World of Conan and Brothers Krim / Brothers Saborian. But as you join the stream, you should at least host.
Yeah. I mean, if you want. I mean, if you don't
Yeah.
want to, you don't have to.
It's going to at least have to wait till the end of September, at least, because I'm currently going to be, as of next week, I'm going to be in Europe for my first wedding anniversary. So
Ooh,
Yeah.
congrats.
thank you.
Good
Or
on you.
specifically,
Yeah.
Which country in Europe?
Vive la France and God save the Queen in close
Okay.
proximity.
So the best countries of Europe.
Debatably.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
we have a thing we're doing in London, so of course we can put this as a business trip, so that's not too much of a trouble.
Okay. Well, philosophically, is there even a Europe outside of those 2 countries? I'm
Yes,
joking.
yes, there is.
This is a bit of a barbed comment to World of Conan. He's on the opposite side of Europe.
I'm not part of Europe.
in Europe, there's France, 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 France,
I'm part of
And
the
everything-
countries somewhere.
And some
I'm not part of
other
the Europe.
provinces of some
I
sort.
believe the Battle of Waterloo would have something to say about that. Oh wait, Napoleon lost.
Damn it. A dark day for all of Europe and Scandinavia.
No. Scandinavia's too far north.
No.
It's always got dark days regardless.
Okay.
That's true.
Uh,
Also, some bright nights as well.
Okay.
There you
So
go.
end of September is when it'll be. Okay.
Yeah, we can work something out.
Yeah, okay.
Plus, I gotta give myself some time to start continue playing Armored Core 6.
And then it'll be 18 to 20. then
Do you
20
want to host Zerosum?
Yeah, sure.
Or
Why
do you-
not?
Yeah, I just meant if. Yeah, you want. Yeah.
That may works for me.
Our stream with Grimdark, you were an excellent host, Zero.
No, well, thank you very much.
So, well,
Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
think that will be
Yeah,
a
that was a
great
fun stream.
But this was a pretty short stream so far because these chapters were tiny.
Yeah, we should have
Yeah.
maybe put up the. We maybe should have taken the next chapter as well, but
Yeah,
I didn't look. I didn't look ahead how long it was.
Same.
Well,
Yeah.
I think one thing we can say so far about Howard's larger literary work, in this case, his only real novel length thing, so each of the chapters is its own, like, it goes by very quick. The pace is similar to that of his short stories in that sense. It's just expanded to novel length.
Yeah,
That's what I was about to
it's good.
say.
Mm.
With Howard, every chapter is a short story.
Yeah, and even then, it's a very succinct one as well. It's almost like flash fiction in certain
With a
ways.
good beginning, good ending.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. What do you guys think? Do you guys like longer chapters or shorter chapters more?
I prefer longer.
It depends on the chapter. It depends what's the story. If you can have a short chapter that doesn't provide enough,
Right.
and you can have a longer chapter that extends itself far too long. It's
that's
all
what I
in
meant.
terms of what is happening. Sometimes you need to go a couple extra pages. Sometimes you're wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Although-
Sometimes they meander. Like I mean, some authors when they have very long, like I'm talking about 50 pages or 30 pages chapters. It's like they meander all the way. It's like, when does it end? Let me get a breather.
Like one author who meanders.
But
is
that's not
Tolkien.
with Howard though.
Yeah,
Howard, you get
Tolkien
always
has
good place.
sometimes 36-page chapters, which are monumental chapters, and there's so much detail, so much
Yeah.
lore, and I love that. Although, to be quite honest, I do want long chapters, especially from Howard, because the more detail, the more lore and characterization I see from him, the more I want more and more and more.
The man knew how to keep his audience coming back for more.
Yeah. And the thing is, but these chapters, I can't see how they could be stretched out longer. It would be unnecessary.
Yeah, I know. It would. You have the point of the events. First, you have Conan going through Masantia. You get an intro. Okay, this is what Masantia is like. He's going to go see this guy. This guy. He then go see this guy. He does some stuff while Conan's away, and then the four guys show up. That's one chapter. That's all you need, and everything else is just done in that Howardian style that really cuts to the bone in many ways. In terms of, it's not overly. The prose isn't overly florid. It's very neat and direct and to the point, but done with enough style that it doesn't
And what's
there's enough meat on the bone to keep you from going hungry, but it does make you want to eat more.
yeah, and yet Howard, like in the opening 2 chapters of the book, he gets florid like that. Like he can when he puts his mind to it. So that when it's
When he needs
necessary,
to.
he does it. When it's not, like you said, he dispenses and he cuts to the bone.
Yeah, like that fight scene that happened, with routine him and the thugs that were coming after him.
Yeah.
That was done very quickly. There was nothing really, there was barely a paragraph's worth of fighting in there compared
Wait.
to other stories where he's gone to far more detail in terms of the blow by blow, where it was far more important to do that because that was the meat of that story. Here, this is just an event that happens on the way between two things. They're far more important.
And yet, what's fascinating is when the Stygian is walking. No, when he murdered Beloso and when he's leaving, and Conan is creeping in the dark. That scene is stretched out, and it's stretched out very beautifully. So Howard does.
Yeah.
He doesn't just he doesn't dispense with all descriptions or all excitement. He stretches where necessary, and he doesn't, and he minimizes where it's necessary as well.
You want to read.
One second.
You want to read long chapters that meander like no other? Read Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series.
I tried not to. I got into the first one. I just nope, rubbish.
I mean,
Which writer?
those are
Robert Jordan, Wheel of Time.
Robert Jordan Wheel of Time. I actually really like them to about up to book 6, but then whoa, it's like 100 pages chapters, and it's like nothing happens, and I'm so bored.
I've never.
He
read
really
that.
starts to really stretch it out. Robert Jordan did some Conan novels, and they say that those are the best Conan novels outside of Howard.
He also did the novelization of Conan the Destroyer.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I've read of the pastiches so far. I've read Conan the Liberator and Call the Conqueror novel, and that's almost it.
Wasn't that the novelization?
Yeah,
The
and it was
book.
really
Yeah.
good. It was really good.
How did
Hey,
it compare
Gola.
to the movie?
Well, I actually found the movie was probably better, but the novel comes really close. It's really quite faithful to the movie. There's a few things in there that are better than the movie, but for the most part, the movie's better. Such as we actually get to learn more about Cull's father and about the relationship between father and son and how this shaped Cull as a person.
So is it fleshed out? The
Yeah,
book,
it's
is it
fleshed out a little. So that's really good. The idea
Just a
is
little?
about- just a little.
Hmm.
It's
Shouldn't
more,
be much more though.
Well, it doesn't have to be really.
It's kind of like there's
I would
mention at the
hope, though.
beginning, then there's mention in the middle, and then you see a few more. You do see some things, and so it like without spoiling everything, it's kind of it's hinted and talked about, but it's not front and center till later in the book. At which point there is one scene where it's the most important thing, and then it gives
Right.
Cull the strength to move forward and go stop Akivasha.
Mhm.
So
Right.
it becomes the decisive linchpin, but at the same time, there's slow build-up with it. I don't know how else to describe it. And welcome to Gola. And of course, there's more discussion of Conan. There will always be more discussion.
One of our guys is named World of Conan. It's kind of hard to avoid.
Yeah. Good to see you, Gola. Good name. A fellow Dune fan there.
Although technically, Muad'Dib wasn't the one who was the Gola. That was Duncan.
No,
I
they
no
made
idea.
Golas later on. Much later on, they made Golas of Muad'Dib.
Yeah, admittedly, once things got a bit too weird for me, I think I haven't gotten as deep into the later Dune books.
Yeah,
I've never read
I can't
Dune.
remember. They did at least in the last 2 books, but that was not with Herbert. It was his son, which books he wrote to complete the saga. Basically, that weren't that they were good,
okay.
but they were good, but they added their own stuff. So fans are very divided on the books. They're like, we want to see the outline from Frank Herbert. Where's the outline? You just gave your own version of the ending and all that stuff. But because the ending has characters that are not in Frank's books, but they are in the books of the son. So we know that Frank could not have planned it to end like that because those characters were not created by Frank. They were created by his son after the father had died. So it's impossible for Frank to have ended his books in that way because he didn't think of it. He didn't think of those characters. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So that's why fans are divided. Like, no, we want to know like what was the ending Frank had planned. Like, what was the outline? Like, so there's the problem with the.
I know nothing of Dune, so
Neither do I.
I'm not a science fiction guy, so
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Dune.
Meanwhile, I'd probably be happy if Conan got into a giant robot. So,
especially if it's a Gundam.
you'd be surprised. Actually, I'm not that big of a Gundam guy.
Oh, okay. The only decent
like
Gundam
Gundam.
shows were the first 2 series, Gundam and Zeta Gundam. The rest are
Yeah,
I like-
I'm more of a
I like
I'm more of a
Double Zeta.
Doom guy.
Okay.
Though kind of, if we're going to bring in Conan and Gundam together, it's going to have to be G Gundam.
Oh my gosh, that tragedy series was funny.
I like Double Gundam,
it was-
Double Zeta Gundam.
It was
I really
funny.
don't.
Anyways, as far as sci-fi, I've just recently picked up Barsoom for the first time.
Ooh, I've got the books right here behind me. There, got the complete series, John Carter series over there.
Their writing is very interesting in John Carter of Mars.
It's very simple.
It's something to get used to. It's kind of strange. In my opinion.
It's interesting because John Carter is never really in any threat of death when a sword fight. He is literally outclassing just about everybody he gets into a sword fight with.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Well, he's really, really good. Plus, he's also he's also the inspiration for Superman, literally, as in complete tall buildings and
Saw the
kill
movie.
a guy by punching him in the face. Just like, he's that strong on Mars.
Saw the movie recently. It was quite good.
Mm.
For me, the name is a combo of Paul and Duncan, my 2 favorite Dune characters. Yeah.
Okay.
Zero figured that right. I'm just saying they made golas of everyone basically at the end.
Yeah, those guys they're weird. Those
Well, I think I'm gonna have to go soon.
Yeah.
I've got my in-laws who are here at the moment, so I should probably go pay some attention to them too. They came here from Mexico, for crying out loud. They should probably
definitely go, fellowship with the family.
And we've got a little bit of work too. Maybe I'll actually be able to get in a couple episodes of Legend of the Galactic Heroes before I go to bed.
Yeah.
All right.
Now that's some fucking anime right there.
Which
Never-
one?
Never
Which
seen
anime?
it.
Legend of the Galactic Heroes, the original one.
Oh,
Heard good things
I know.
about it.
I heard the name. I've heard the name.
It's like Game of Thrones in space, only it's not anime weeaboo crap, so it's actually doesn't annoy people.
Oh, right. Was it made in the
The
80s?
key word is it's not
Yeah.
crap, like Game of Thrones.
80s anime is so good looking. Oh.
Yeah, well, in this case, it's 80s anime, and nobody makes squeaky noises. There are no annoying teenage characters. Nobody's emo, or the closest thing people are emotive about is the fact that okay, we are having a major fleet battle here happening here. Lots of people are going to die. I kind of feel bad about that. We're still doing it, but I kind of feel bad about that. I want that noted.
At least we feel bad.
Yeah. It's like, okay, my best friend just died. I'm having a bit of a nervous breakdown, but I'm not going to be annoying about it.
Well, at least they're not annoying.
Exactly. Which is far than I can say about so much fucking anime.
Yeah, that's why I don't watch anime anymore.
Mm.
After almost the 90s era, I'm like, I refuse to watch most of it. I'd rather read old books. And the funny thing is, old Japanese literature, like classic Japanese literature from the 1920s and up to 1,000 years ago, was really good.
Yeah.
And not
ironically, this thing was based on a 10 book series, so if you can find it, it's pretty good too. It basically feels like the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, that particular history book. It's like that tone,
Right.
but with space battles.
I gotta see it then.
You look up on the internet archive, you can find the whole series.
Oh, cool.
Zero, have you seen Code Geass, by the way?
No.
Oh,
I hate
my.
that shit.
I really liked it.
Okay. I hated it.
But did
I
you
I
see
didn't
it
mind it
through?
at first.
But did you see it through the whole plot? Everything was revealed at the end, like how it
It was
went.
dumb.
Yeah, but did you see it the whole way through?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Not only he's a
Okay.
psychopath.
Oh yeah.
Well, if I have any kind of like Gundam-y kind of recommendations, there's a book series called Combat Frame XC that I'm currently reading by Brian Niemeyer.
Hmm.
It's available on Kindle if you want to look at it. It's basically Tom Clancy means Gundam.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it's pretty good.
Just Code Geass has Gundam style fighting in it.
Well,
So,
it's
Yeah, I got nothing against that style of mech. It's mostly the pilots I can't stand.
yeah.
Right.
There's very little bit of. It's mostly high school drama. Code Geass.
Yeah. I mean, I went to Dollarama and got myself a Char Zaku, Red Zaku, and put it on the shelf.
oh
I
yeah,
got it for like $4.
yeah.
They're selling him at
$4.
they're selling him at Dollarama for $4.
But I was
That's
going to
crazy.
say regarding Code Geass,
Well, it's
really
a little
show
cheapo
that
toy. It's just
it's a
Oh, that's
show that
cool. That's
You
cool.
have to kind of see it for yourself to decide whether you like it or not.
Yeah, because while you say high school stuff, yeah, there's that, but there's also the political, the what the family, the
Yeah,
royal
I found
royal
it-
family is doing, and all
I
that
found
stuff,
it
all
a
the different
watered down
factions.
version of the zombie conflict from Gundam. So
Yeah. Well, to be fair, if I have to deal with that, I'll take the politics, I'll take the, backstabbing and all the, shenanigans in that regard. If I have to deal with, oh, does this boy like me? Or does he, oh, I'm too shy to tell this girl how I really feel, and all
There's
this
a lot.
kind of crap, or any kind of teeny bopper bullshit kind of drama, I'm going to put it down and chop it up with a rusty chainsaw.
it's something you have to experience for yourself. Anyways,
Give me a protagonist who's in his 30s, for fuck's sake.
has anyone got the Conan the Barbarian official making of the movie book yet? No.
No, yeah, I'm
No,
about to
no.
order it, but yeah, I'm
Loved it,
gonna-
but the author used a lot of direct quotes from Conan Unchained documentary. Big book, great production picks. Okay,
Cool.
so it
Yeah.
basically took a lot of quotes straight from the making of it was on the DVD.
Cool.
Yeah, they should have really interviewed, because James Earl Jones is getting pretty old as well, so they should
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
they should made an in-depth interview with him and
Mm.
with
I'd
all the
love-
other castmates. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Him and Milius.
Yeah. And Milius is recovering, slowly but surely from that stroke he had, so he's probably likely still be able to, communicate.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, there should be
Man,
a lot
that
of
was
stuff there.
that was a goddamn tragedy. I mean, think of all the movies that he could have been making in the meantime.
Yeah, they blackmail.
Looked
Blacklisted
him up
him.
recently, and Milius. It's really shocking to discover that he was canceled so long ago just for having non-controversial opinions and just
Yeah,
being a regular
conservative
guy.
opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to current year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but to everyone who's probably not subscribed yet to Here or Zero or Brothers of Borean, do smash the like button here because we want this stream to get as many views as possible, and share it, but also subscribe to all of our channels because
Indeed. I'm
Everybody-
probably going to have some Conan related videos in the making. Not currently, but I've definitely got Chuck Dixon's Siege of the
Oh,
Black
yeah,
Citadel
gotta-
to review at some point, and there's
Oh,
of course
yeah.
the new Conan comics that Titan they're coming out with. So that should be
Can't wait to
interesting.
see
I want to wait till they get a couple of issues
Here.
in. Exactly those ones. I want to wait till I get a couple of issues in so I can read them and see a bit where the storyline's going. Just like going off of one issue is not enough for me for the ongoing
art-
series.
the art is fantastic. It's like
Yeah.
old school.
Yeah, it's got Jim Zub from the Marvel, the recent Marvel run doing the writing though, so that's something I
Yeah,
want to see a
and-
bit where he goes with that stuff before he go to any kind of in-depth review.
Great
I'm going
pages.
to be possibly in the US or Quebec soon, so I'm hoping that I'll be near a comic book shop and I could get my mitts on that. And as soon as I do, I'm going to want to do a review of that.
There's also
Because-
Fire and Ice.
But until then,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
going to be
that one too.
nice. It's going to be mostly the old Dark Horse days for comic book reviews because we're having to repost old stuff onto our channel at the moment because we've had to start over. And That's never fun.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, the comic book reviews are quickly catching up. And then I'm going to want, once it's all caught up, which is only like a week or two away, we are going to hopefully get our mitts on some of those new comics and be able to publish that. And as soon as I get my mitts on the Siege of the Black Citadel, I'm going to want to do a book club of that. Probably while we're re-uploading the old content, I might just do this alongside it.
Yeah.
There's a new one should be coming out soon as well, I think.
Yeah.
From Chuck Dixon as well.
Yeah.
And then there's the short stories. I just did a video before we did the stream. I released a video.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The short stories start this month, 26th day. It's the first short story. It's just $2 on Amazon to pre-order the short story. And then it's every month one short story. But curiously, like I said in the video, there's no call short stories for the foreseeable future. Not for over a year. No call stories.
Call probably doesn't sell as much.
But we know.
Yeah, but they had Borak. They had El Borak there. They had Bram McMorn.
The Texas Center in one of their videos did announce that there are plans for call by Heroic Signatures and Titan
I definitely hope
Publishers.
so.
Yeah, they do have plans for call. We don't know what those plans are, but call is a character Heroic Signatures is keen to put their stamp on and
definitely. They
guard
should.
jealously. So we're probably going to see something down the road with call.
Yeah, definitely.
Sumerian September event. He's doing Conan all month. Oh yeah, I've been keeping track. I was very excited about his Sumerian September thing. It almost made me get
That's
so
cool.
excited. Just oh my gosh, I love his channel. His channel's awesome.
But like I said about Call, I mean that world. There's so much stuff you could explore because Conan's world is very much defined, but Call's world is so much less defined. You don't really know. You don't know anything about the different kingdoms. Like there's so much that you could explore.
There's a lot of exploring that can be done.
Yeah. Ancient beings, like there's got to be a lot of ancient beings, ancient races, ancient all that stuff, artifacts. Like there's so much you could explore in Call's world before the flood, basically. So yeah, they should definitely do a lot of Call stuff.
Well, we'll see what they end up doing, I guess.
Yeah. See if they do a comic of Solomon Kane.
Let's hope so.
I guess that's it for our stream. We meandered here at the end, but
when do we not?
Yeah.
Hope to
Isn't
see
that
all
the
you
point of
guys.
a stream?
Yeah, that's
partially.
Definitely. Hope to see everyone on the next one. It should be at the end of this month, I think.
Yeah, we can probably wrangle something together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we got to get up to the movie streams as well at some point. It's just
I just realized
fix
because
something.
I took a real quick look at the chapter 18 or 19. Looks like there's the Woman That Never Dies, which I think is Akivasha. And
Oh yeah,
October probably. So that will time itself
perfectly.
Real good.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, to stay tuned for that next stream at the end of September. People are going to have to go hop over to Zero's channel and sub over there. So
Yeah.
go
Definitely.
do that.
Go do that immediately.
Yep.
All right.
Go do that.
Hails to all the barbarians. Hails to Conan.
Hail to the barbarian horde.
Hails to the barbarian horde. Hails
Yes.
to all fellow panelists. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.